Hello everybody, this is General Yanis, and today in Death Card Tactics I'm going to be talking about a post-game battle analysis, Death Card versus Salamanders, 2000 points, a matched play game I had last week here in Denmark. So with no further ado, let's take a look how the Death Card and the Salamanders game went. So today, the 13th of June, so a busy weekend. Got my COVID vaccine yesterday. I'm not sure what Nurgle would say about that, if he would approve. I guess not. And also the European Championship of football or soccer, as you call it in the United States, is underway. Yesterday, Denmark had their first game, and it was a shocking game because one of the players collapsed in the field, and it was a big drama. But let's talk about the Warhammer, then 2000 points post-battle analysis and the key learnings from the Battle of Death Guard versus Salamanders. Here was my list, here including Mortarion that I wanted to field in the battle. So I will be looking at the lists very quickly, talking about the mission and deployment, and then a synopsis of the game results, and then the key learnings from this battle. Before I start, a big thanks and shout out to all my patrons. Thank you really guys for your support and being part of the roadmap and the channel here. Let's take a look on the lists. So Death Guard 2000 points. I wanted, as I said, to use Mortarion this time, and then I took a battalion of Inexorable, starting with 8 command points. So a Supreme Command detachment, the Demon Primarch, Mortarion is, of course, is chosen to be the warlord. I took Miasma of Pestilence, Curse of the Leper, and Gift of Plagues. Gift of Plagues to increase his contagion from 9-inch to 12-inch. Of course, Mortarion is 490 points, and then at the start of the battle you can select one of the Plague Company's warlord traits, and then I took Gloaming Bloat from Mortarion's Anvil. I think that's a really good, a very good warlord trait for Mortarion, being able to avoid enemy firing Overwatch as he charges them and shutting down rerolls within his contagion range. So this is really strong. I think it's one of the strongest trait we can give Mortarion. In the battalion, I selected Inexorable. So the HQ, I didn't have so many points, so it was just a regular Chaos Lord. I gave him the Ferric Blight Warlord trait for more AP. I gave him the Plague Skull of Glothila Relic, and he's just equipped with a Combi Bolter and a Chainsword. Then we have the Malignant Plague Caster, Curse of the Leper, and Gift of Plagues. So if Mortarion dies, I still can use the same type psychic powers, 95 points. For troops, from my learning from my game with Custodes, I just wanted a bit more troops to be able to hold objectives or do actions if necessary. So I took 3 units of 5 Plague Marines. I didn't have so much points to spare. So one of the groups that I intended to send forward has a Flail of Corruption and a Blight Launcher. The 2 others only have 1 Blight Launcher, keeping it as cheap as possible, and then 2 units of 10 Poxwalkers for additional objective secure and controlling the board and screening out the board. In the elites, I'm bringing my Contemptor Dreadnought with 2 Volkite Culverines, a new model I just assembled and painted. So really happy to try that out, and I want to bring the Taliman with the Tollkeeper Relic to be able to make the nice synergy of the Contemptor, getting exploding 6s, hitting a 2+, re-rolling 1s with the Chaos Lord, and then hopefully making a lot of 6s to wound, so we can give a lot of mortal wounds to the enemy. Then 2 Death Shroud units, 3 men each, and I had for one of the units I gave them the relic, the Reaper of Glorious Entropy. The champion with the Reaper of Glorious Entropy is really a strong melee character, dealing mortal wounds and can do so much damage with his relic. And I had 5 points to spare, so I gave them an extra gauntlet. The other Death Shroud is only the 150 point standard. And then heavy support, as always, one of the best units in my book, at least, the Plagueburst Crawler with Entropy Cannons and Slugger, 2 of those to provide fire support, and this is 2000 points in the money. 8 command points starting with. I used a couple of command points for the dreadnought, and then to give extra traits and relics for the army. So first game for my Contemptor dreadnought, Tallyman and Chaos Lord to buff the Contemptor, Mortarion hopefully to take the heat, all the firepower of the enemy, hopefully giving time for the rest of the army to take control of the board. 5 small troops to hold objectives, and then the Plagueburst Crawlers for fire support, and the Death Shroud to do melee deep striking and hopefully utilize any opportunities. Then looking at the Salamanders 2000 points list, starting with 10 command points. In the HQ we have a Chief Librarian. He takes in Null Zone, Psychic Fortress, Veil of Time, and Drake Skin, I believe, from the Salamander specific psychic powers. He has the Tome Relic, giving him the access to the extra power. A Lieutenant in Phobos Armor. He's the Lord of Fire Aura. He has the Obsidian Aquila, and he has the Salamander's Mantle for 80 points, and he is the Warlord. And Vulkan Histan, he can give one of the Salamanders unit reroll all to hit and all to wound. In the troops we have basic troops, 5 Assault Intercessors, 5 Infiltrators that can do forward deployment, and 5 Intercessors with Autobolt rifles, the rifles that are assault weapons. So a cheap, let's say, small, cheap troops. In the elites, we have the Primaris Apothecary, a cheap apothecary for 115 points. He's able to revive 1 dead model per turn and heal, and for 0 command points. And he's a strong. The apothecary is of course a strong unit where you have elite type of infantry with you. Then we have a big unit, 5 assault terminators with thunder hammers and storm shields for 215 points, and then 2 units of 3 aggressors with flamestorm gauntlets. Of course, flamers and meltas are the weapons that are benefiting from the Salamander special rules. They are also very strong in close combat. And then in the fast attack, 3 plasma inceptors. Those two units of 3 plasma inceptors. These guys are really strong and tough versus, for example, our Plague Marines. They don't have to supercharge the plasmas. They with a very high AP, and they have these blast rules. If they are attacking a unit of Poxwalkers, they can do some significant shooting damage versus Death Card. And then in the heavy support, 3 units with 3 Eradicators. One of the Eradicators unit, the champion, the sergeant has a multi-melta, and the other guys have heavy meltas which are doing d6+2 damage at full range and d6+4 damage at 12 inches. So this, especially the heavy squad, a very big threat to Mortarion and Plagueburst Crawlers, etc. So a strong Salamanders unit, taking small units to benefit from Salamander's ability to that every unit has a 1 wound. They can reroll 1 of the wound rolls. So with smaller units, there is more rerolls, let's say. Strong anti-death card weapons, meltas and plasmas, and the flamers, let's say. Salamanders are ignoring AP -1, so the Ferric Blight doesn't really help so much. And in the tactical phase, their doctrine gives them +1 to wound for meltas and flamers. So the Flamestorm Gauntlets would benefit, of course, and of course the Eradicators will be really dangerous from turn 2. And also a lot of the characters they can give the 6+ Feel No Pain auras, and the Chief Apothecary can bring dead models back. So this is a good combo for the Gravis armor units. Being able to throw a couple of 6s for Feel No Pain can prolong the life of these 3 wound models of the Eradicators and the Aggressors and the Inceptors, etc. For the mission and the secondaries, we rolled on the Grand Tournament 2020 Strike Force 2000 point battle, and we got a priority target, which has a good mission, secondary mission. There are 5 objectives, 1 in the center of the battlefield, and then 2 in each player territory. You can move before the game. You can move 6 inches back and forth here. There are some special rules to do that. The priority target, the secondary objective, is that you score 3 victory points if you control the priority objective marker that you can select in your own zone, and 5 every turn if you have both of the priority objective markers that you can select. So this is quite a no-brainer because you can just select the one in your deployment zone. You just put some objective secure troop there from the beginning, and then you are basically scoring 3 victory points every turn, starting from turn 1. And if you can take your opponents, you would be getting 5. And yeah, it's really a good mission secondary. I selected the While We Stand We Fight. That would be the Mortarion and the 2 Plague Scrollers. I didn't have high hopes that Mortarion would survive the whole battle, but hopefully by having Mortarion on the table, the 2 Plague Scrollers would be able to survive. And I took Assassinate. The opponent had 4 characters, and I was hoping if I can clear them out, I would be getting 12 points here. The Salamanders, they chose Engage on All Fronts. A good map to start. Let's say you quite quickly can be in 3 quarters, of course. Oaths that is Space Marine specific, and the mission secondary also on both camps. So this was the deployment. So this is my side of the deployment table. Here we have the Salamanders, and I moved this objective closer to my deployment zone. My opponent pushed this objective back. He moved this objective closer to his deployment zone, and then I put this one back. So this was the 5 objectives we had. I chose the Death Shroud to be on deep strike, and I placed all my units here. Here I have the Contemptor. Inside this ruin I have Plague Marines. The Chaos Lord and the Taliman are close by to be able to buff the Contemptor. The Plague Scrollers, you have checked, I have 36-inch range, or I can move them and get 36-inch range. The Contemptor also has very good range with his Volkites, 45 inches. That's not a big problem. We have 24-inch between the lines here. I had the Plague Marines with the Flail and the Malignant Plaguecaster to be more aggressive. I have them here. I want to take this objective. And then Mortarion I placed at the end. I saw the infiltrators coming in and forward deploying here. I put them opposite here, and this added benefit is that here there is quite further distance from most of the units to be able to shoot Mortarion if he's on this side of the table. I put some Poxwalkers here to screen, and hopefully I was thinking to come here. I had some Poxwalkers here to hold this objective, and then some Plague Marines, more Plague Marines in this side, and I want also to screen my deployment from enemy deep strikes, because the Salamanders, they had the Plasma Inceptors and their Terminators in deep strike, and those could be doing a lot of trouble if they could come in this area of the board. Here they used the Intercessors to screen some Eradicators. There are some Eradicators hiding in these ruins. There are some aggressors in this building. The Librarian and Assault Intercessors on this side. The main characters, the Vulkan and Apothecary and the Lieutenant, are on this side. So there seems to be a big showdown coming from Mortarion and this group of Eradicators. And on this side, let's see what would happen with the Librarian and Assault Intercessors. We rolled off, and Salamanders got the first turn. I would have liked to go first, try to maybe kill a unit of Eradicators before they can shoot my Mortarion, but the dice wanted that Salamanders go first. So the Salamanders first turn, most units advanced to better forward positions. The Librarian and the Assault Intercessors took the one objective close to their deployment zone, and they scored 2 victory points on Engage All Fronts and 3 victory point mission objective. They couldn't shoot so much on Mortarion. As I said, most of the units were too far away. The Meltas of the Eradicators have a 24-inch range, and they couldn't basically reach Mortarion. And in Death Card first turn, I moved Mortarion aggressively forward, close to this objective, and I want to charge the Infiltrators that are hiding in this ruin. The idea is that here I really needed my Plague Scrollers and the Contemptor to shoot and take out some Eradicators to ensure Mortarion will survive. Instead of getting shot from 9 Eradicators, the Plague Marines and the Malignant Plaguecaster, they advanced and they could take this objective with objective secure if Mortarion can clear out the Infiltrators. And importantly, the rest of the backfield, I tried to move a little bit to screen my backfield so the Salamanders cannot deep strike behind my lines, but I think I forgot a small spot, but it turned out that there wasn't enough room for a whole unit of Terminators to come on this side. Mortarion put Miasma of Pestilence on himself. This is really important. If you don't succeed with Miasma of Pestilence, he can really go off, and Miasma of Pestilence -1 to hit definitely helps. I also used Gift of Plagues on himself, so his contagion becomes 12-inch contagion, and I think getting 12 inches Gloaming Blood is very important when you're facing an army of Meltas. So the enemy gets the question, if they move to within 12 inch of Mortarion to get more damage, then they cannot use rerolls, and if they stay outside of 12 inch, they do less damage, but they can do rerolls. So they cannot shoot you with rerolling everything and give d6 plus 2 damage. If they have the d6 damage, the normal damage, you can be lucky and survive if they just hit 1s or 2s in the damage, for example. I started with Plague Scroller using the Disgusting Force to shoot at some hiding Eradicators. I rolled for the number of shots. I got 5 shots. This never happens, especially when you select Disgusting Force. But then the 5 shots, I didn't score a single hit. I just got 5 1s and 2s, and I thought it was a bad start to the game. I used the other Plague Scroller. I used my Contemptor. I shot at what I could. But in the end, I only managed to kill 1 Eradicator model, and then I left the other one with 1 wound left. I really needed to kill 2 of them so that the Chief Apothecary couldn't bring both back. But the use of transhuman physiology and my dice rolling didn't help. So yeah, the 6+ Feel No Pains helped the Salamanders also because at some point, yeah, they saved the model with 1 wound, and it didn't look good for this time. On the other flank, on this objective where the Librarian and the Assault Intercessors had moved, I could kill 3 of the Assault Intercessors, and then the Librarian was exposed for the next turn to be able to be targeted. So this forced the Salamanders player to think about what to do in this flank. Mortarion charged and took out the whole unit of infiltrators in melee. Again, transhuman physiology was used, but didn't manage to save them. And Mortarion then and I was bracing for the firepower of the Salamanders coming down on Mortarion, which would be a very important second turn. So in the Salamander's second turn, the Apothecary, of course, healed the wounded Eradicator and brought the dead one back. So he had 9 full operating Eradicators again to cover the Librarian on this objective because there was not so many Assault Intercessors. The Assault Intercessors moved forward, and the Plasma Inceptors deep strike here to protect the Librarian, and the Assault Terminators made a deep strike here in the middle to charge Mortarion. The aggressors moved out of the ruin to flame Mortarion, and intercessors moved to objectively secure the center. Everything shot at Mortarion, but Miasma of Pestilence, the Revolting Resilience, good invul saves kept the damage I took to 6 wounds, so I had 12 wounds left on my Mortarion, so he was basically unbracketed, even with some rerolls here. So again, Miasma of Pestilence, some good dice rolling, kept Mortarion alive, and leaving basically the table full of opportunity. The Terminators failed their charge on Mortarion. They didn't do the 9-inch charge, so at the end, yeah, Death Guard had a good opportunity on this side. They cleared out some Poxwalkers I had moved forward. So now I had a lot of opportunities here, so I went into a sort of analysis paralysis. So Mortarion went towards the middle, spreading the 12-inch contagion range. He used Gift of Plagues again, so many targets were brought down in toughness, and they couldn't use rerolls. I moved my Plague Marines forward out of the ruins to be able to shoot and to try to do as much as possible, while Mortarion is trying to think where he would engage. What a very important thing was that the Salamanders had pushed forward quite a lot and left their back line for my Death Shroud to deep strike. And basically, I could deep strike my Death Shroud behind the ruins. So here there was Eradicators, and they couldn't use the Ospec scan to shoot and maybe kill a lot of my Death Shroud. So I could land both units of Death Shroud within 9-inch charge range and without the opponent being able to shoot at them. So this was really a very important part of the game. In the shooting, I was a bit all over the place. I split fire a bit too much. I killed a few models here and there, some Eradicators and exposed Apothecary, but I didn't manage to kill, let's say, any of the characters. Some of them were exposed, but I split fire also from my Contemptor, so I should have focused a little bit more on the fire. The pistol of Mortarion always misses somehow. I don't know how that is possible. But the important part was the charge phase, where the Death Shroud, with a command point reroll, this group managed to charge and take out the 3 Eradicators that were holding this objective. So that's, of course, taking out a whole unit of Eradicators and taking the priority objective from the opponent, taking this opponent and threatening the whole back line while Mortarion is still pressing on in the center. So the other unit of Death Shroud didn't make their charge, and the Mortarion, he charged here in the middle. I could have charged maybe the Eradicators hiding here, but I charged the Terminators. I didn't want the Terminators to take out my Plague Marines in next turn or threaten my back line. So again, transhuman physiology was used, and it was Mortarion took out 3 Terminators, but 2 were left there, and the intercessors with objectives to cure are still holding this objective. But at this time of the game, the Salamanders have been running out of command points. On my side, I still have quite a few command points because Tallyman is giving me extra command points every turn, basically. So in Salamander's third turn, things are critical for the Salamanders. The Librarian makes a mad dash towards Mortarion and succeeds in casting Null Zone, preventing Mortarion. Mortarion cannot deny that, and basically now Mortarion is really I didn't manage to have Miasma of Pestilence cast, and with no invul saves, the remaining Eradicators brought him down to 1 wound. Aggressors and Vulkan, they charged Mortarion and killed him. I couldn't save the last wounds, and at the end Mortarion explodes, leaving some mortal wounds on the table. But that was basically the most thing that the Salamanders could do. So the Death Guard third turn is quite brutal. The Death Shroud moved and surrounded the center, the remaining back of the Salamander army, the Inceptors, some characters, the Eradicators. The Lieutenant and Apothecary are taken out. The Plaguebear Scroller and Contemptor can still take pot shots and shoot and destroy a lot of Salamander models and units. The Plague Marines here and the Malignant Plaguecaster kill a unit of aggressors that was trying to take this objective with in melee and psychic mortal wounds. So in Salamander's turn 4, they managed to kill 2 Death Shroud from each unit, but the table is thinning out of Salamander models, and in Death Guard turn 4, the remaining Salamander forces are destroyed for a Death Guard victory, leaving the field only with Death Guard units. So the game result was a victory for Death Guard with something like 92 to 60 type of points. Death Guard, at the end, I lost Mortarion and a unit of Poxwalkers. I lost a couple of models and that was the 2 units I lost. I had, of course, some Plague Marine casualties and 2 Death Shroud from each unit, but I didn't lose so many units. So in the end, I was scoring for my secondaries 12 points for the Assassinate, 10 points for While We Stand We Fight, for the Plaguebear Scroller Still Standing, and 15 points from the mission secondary. So key learnings and the unit rankings and improvements or mistakes or something to do better, let's say. I think overall, the game went according to the game plan, or the idea I had in my head. Mortarion created a big distraction, giving time for the rest of the army to work. The Gloaming Bloat and Gift of Plagues, giving him a 12-inch contagion, not allowing rerolls, is really strong against Meltas and Space Marine armies. Miasma of Pestilence, of course, very important to put on Mortarion. Of course, look out for Null Zone or equivalent. Again, I lost Mortarion mainly due to the Null Zone. If I had been a bit more strategic about it and have been focusing on the Librarian, I would probably not have lost him in that turn. Transhuman Physiology is very strong stratagem for Space Marines, and it's not sure that Mortarion can wipe out an enemy unit in melee, taking out, let's say, with 7 strong attacks, a unit of 5 models. If we only can wound or 4+, there is not so much wounds to go around. So of course this is a really strong defensive stratagem of the Space Marines. In my book, Mortarion, if Mortarion, for me, if he can take out one enemy unit, let's say in melee, like he did with the infiltrators, and take all the fire from all the meaningful fire from the opponent's army for 2 rounds, he's basically worth his points, because all the damage, all the shots that he's taking, all the other units are not taking, and then they need to step up and do their work. The fire support units did their job. The Plague Scrollers and the Contemptor, and here I had quite a good range advantage over the opponent. The opponent's Meltas are 24-inch, the Plague Scroller is good at 36-inch, and the Contemptor 45-inch. I could keep quite a big distance and still be able to shoot at the opponents. Taliman, the +1 to hit to the Contemptor and rerolls. The Contemptor did quite well, but I was a bit underwhelmed. It didn't do so many mortal wounds that I have hoped for, and the AP0 and not even getting to AP1 from the Volkites didn't really do so much damage output, but I didn't get so many mortal wounds from the Contemptor. But all in all, I think it 3-4 rounds of shooting, it did okay. The 5 small troops OBSEC troop choices was really helpful in the game, giving a good board presence and having units to hold objectives and screening for enemy deep strikes. I think that was really a good combo, and the units themselves weren't targeted so much with Mortarion on the table. The key defining moment of the game, I think, was that Death Shroud actually got to deep strike behind the enemy lines, behind cover, avoiding Ospec scan, and then one unit made a successful 9-inch charge. So for this, I saved, of course, the command point, but it's not a guarantee. But I think you have to try it. And the Reaper of Glorious Entropy on the Death Shroud champion is really a strong weapon. Taliman, maybe the most valuable character. I never ran out of command points. I always felt I had what I needed to use Disgusting Force, to use the occasional reroll here and there. I didn't need so many stratagems here, but the Taliman definitely a very strong model, and all auto-include in my book. Things I could I could do better. I think I should have targeted more carefully in my turn 2, focused the fire a bit to take out the Apothecary or Librarian instead of spreading fire around too much. The Ferric Blight AP-1 didn't help versus Salamanders. They ignore AP-1, so our AP0 weapons like my Plague Marine Bolters and the Volkites would not even benefit from this additional AP, so I didn't bother using Flush Outbreak to spread the Ferric Blight. It didn't really mean so much in this game. The 6+ Feel No Pain for the Space Marines was good, and it was strong for the Gravis Armors models that have 3 wounds. So it's difficult to take them out. A couple of 6s, Feel No Pain here and there, kept them in the game, and the Chief Apothecary really did his part in this game and healed and come back. So if I wasn't able to pull off my deep strikes and with some better rolling of the Eradicators in turn 1, maybe the game would have been a bit different at the end. So the final thoughts, I think it was all in all a good game where Mortarion and the army did more or less as I had planned, and it was nice to see this army and this list coming together in the game. Quite easy to play, fun to play, and it was a good game and good laughs and a lot of nice dice rolling, let's say, and an interesting map to play and surviving the first encounter with the dangerous Meltas and Flamers of the Salamanders. So thank you for the good game, Lars, and I'm looking forward to our rematch. So let's plan that and see if Nurgle would keep smiling on the Death Guard here. I also need to mention that Lars normally plays Death Guard and is also watching this channel, but his secondary army is the Salamanders. So it might be interesting if he plays Death Guard and I play something else at some point. But this concludes the video. What do you think about this battle? Leave some comments. If you have some comments or questions below. If you like this video, please press like and subscribe to my channel, where I will be bringing you more Death Guard tactics and Death Guard related content. If you want to support my channel, please visit my Patreon page. And with these words, General Yanis is signing out. Stay safe out there, and bye-bye.